Hello, hello, hello. Good evening. I'm just getting things set up here, so give me just a couple of seconds here. All right, looks like I'm up and running. Good, happy Sunday. Thank you for stopping by Tara Best Stamps tonight for another live tutorial. I'm going to do a fun fold. We are going to use the Fresh Cut Flowers, which is a stamp set that's available in the annual catalog right now. But this month in September, they have added some limited edition dies, and these are absolutely awesome. There's 6 sets, and this happens to be one of them. This is one that I had already purchased, hadn't used it yet. The dies came out. Hey, Karen. Hey, Rosie. Thanks for joining me. So I decided this was going to be one of the first sets that I bought, and I have used it. I love it. It's got some really great die sets or die pieces that I love to use in any card. So this piece right here, I love these accents that you can get to put behind flowers to add just a little depth. Hey, Mary, thanks for joining. This is great on the borders. So this is a really fun die set. If you don't have it, if you don't have the stamp set, you can get this as a bundle just this month in September. So you definitely don't want to miss out on that. Just seeing if I can get these comments up and running. I don't know. All right, we'll just move on. So if I miss your comments, I'll get back with you afterwards if I miss it. We're going to get to it. This is the card we're going to do. A cute little, I think it's called a W fun fold. So we're going to use a lot of dies in this. So let's get to it. So I'm a little frazzled today. I had a crop this weekend with about 35 women. So I've been home for about an hour and a half and hurried up and got everything unpacked. So if I'm a little beside myself, that's why. So I apologize straight ahead. So what we're going to do is we're going to use one of my favorite tools, which is the Simply Score tool here by Stampin' Up. And I love these for fun folds because I like to send a fun fold. I think they're a little more than just a greeting card, and everybody loves to give a handmade greeting card, obviously, but one that's kind of fun and sassy is awesome. So what we're going to do, this is a piece of Poppy Parade, and all these dimensions will be on my blog tomorrow, so definitely check that out. But this is a piece of Poppy Parade measuring 5.5 by 11. So what we're going to do is we are going to first score it at 4. And the reason we're doing this first is just to get this out of the way. So 4, we're going to do 5 3/4. And I usually like to use the smaller end on my stylus when I'm doing these. It gives a nice little crease. We're going to do 7.5, and then we're going to do 9 1/4. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to set this piece of paper aside, and we'll do the folding in a minute, but this will get my score tool out of the way. All right, so there's that. So what I have done is I've done some pre-cutting out. I am using Old Olive with the Perfectly Penciled DSP, and I've just made a small mat to go underneath each layer. So this is going to be, as you know, by watching some of my previous videos and tutorials, this is going to be a heavy card, so it's going to need that extra postage. So what I'm going to do first is I'm just going to adhere these mats and get them out of the way. Then we're going to do a little Stampin'. We're going to do a little coloring. Hopefully I can do that on camera without messing it up too bad. All right, so that's going to be for that back piece. And so then I've just taken a couple of the Perfectly Penciled black and white sheets that's just the shapes, you know, dots, stripes, whatever I had. And we're just going to mat these up against this Old Olive. Just making sure I get just that even edge around everything. I'm using liquid adhesive tonight. I'm kind of going back and forth between liquid adhesive and seal. They're both perfect adhesives provided by Stampin' Up. Sometimes when I'm doing these mats, I like the liquid adhesive a little bit better because it gives you just a little bit of wiggle room. One suggestion I'll always tell you is less is more on that liquid. If you use too much, it starts warping up and your cards don't lay flat. Even with Stampin' Up! Paper, if you use too much, it's going to warp up. Paper can only take so much liquid before it starts curling. But it's definitely going to work. Stampin' Up! Paper and cardstock is definitely going to handle it better than some of your cheaper cardstocks out there. Okay, so there's the matting and everything getting ready for the card. So let's do the inside. So as you noticed on today's card, it does have a couple of different panels. So I've got this panel. Initially on this one, I stamped it, die cut it, and then adhered it. So we're gonna do that a little bit different because there's not a lot of reason to have a bunch of extra layers. So I already have my stitched rectangle cut out. I've put it on my Stamparatus, and I am going to take some Poppy Parade. And the reason I'm doing this is because those solid stamps and silhouettes, sometimes they don't always show up. See, this has a little bit, even though my pad is nice and juicy, it still has a little bit of white showing through. So I'm gonna give it that second stamp. Well, maybe I'll give it a third and really press and hope that I don't get a halo. Haha! Okay, so I'm gonna set that aside because that red ink is gonna stay wet for quite a while. So that's part of the reason we're gonna get that out of the way. Since that's wet, I'm gonna go ahead, and I already had this set up. I'm gonna flip this over because we're also gonna do this stamp set that we're gonna color. So I'm going to take this and just do a quick stamp with some memento. So this is a Stamparatus. If you've never seen me use this, this is a positioning stamp platform that Stampin' Up! has. And it's perfectly awesome because you have the ability to move this arm over here or down here at the bottom. You've got your positional magnets that hold your paper in place. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that that stamp fits there. I'm going to kind of scooch it down because I want to save as much of this paper for something else later. I'm going to close up that red ink pad before I make a mess. I am going to take my Mementos ink, and you'll notice I have it propped up on my glue stick or glue container. So the reason that I do that is just to give it a little bit of height. So I use the Stamparatus for any stamp that's larger. I have the large ink block, but I kind of like my Stamparatus because it's a lot easier to make mistakes on those larger stamps. Okay, so what I have is I've colored this on some basic white. I am going to take out my markers, and so what I have is I have Poppy Parade, I have a Mossy Meadow and Old Olive here, the lights in the dark, and then I have a dark So Saffron. So hopefully I can color these pretty quick. So I'm using the dark first, and I'm not being real careful about where I'm going. I'm just kind of going around the lines just to give it a little bit of dimension and shading. You kind of want to think about where that light's going to come in at. Okay. So as I said, this weekend, I had about 35 women come to one of our local hotels. We had a craft crop. I had women stamping, I had people making cards, I had them scrapbooking, I had a couple of people making quilts. There was several gorgeous quilts being made. Crazy thing is they're using fabric made by a brand of scrapbook paper that I bought back in the day. So I guess that company has changed to a new market, and now they're doing fabric instead of paper. But it definitely was paper that I would have had. I probably still have some of it laying around here somewhere. But I do that about 4 times a year. It's super cool. We have an awesome time. Great group of women that get together. And I'm telling you, it is an exhausting weekend. So my husband was wonderful and did the laundry, and he's got the sheets all clean, and that bed is calling my name already. We'll see how quick I get into it. All right, so you see that didn't take very long coloring. We're just gonna put a little bit of that So Saffron in the center and kind of color it a little bit on the outside there. Okay, now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take some dark Old Olive. I'm gonna run it along some of these leaves. I probably won't do all of them with that. Just in a little bit of the areas. Do a little bit down here. But my favorite part of the weekend is sharing my love of Stampin' Up! With everybody. I had so many people asking questions and looking at the catalogs. They were having a grand time. So I can't wait for, ooh, I don't like the tip on that marker. I'm gonna flip that around. It's gonna take a little bit longer, but I just don't like that tip. It's time to order a new one. These have been loved. But sharing the catalog, showing everybody the cards that we make, what our customer rewards programs are like. So it was a good time. So I think I have a lot of new lovers that are going to enjoy some new stuff coming soon. All right. So I'm not doing a great job at coloring these, but you definitely get the idea. And what I'm definitely going to do is the die cut is going to cut a lot of those places where I may have had an oopsie. I feel like I'm coloring on Instagram at the high speed. Okay, we'll do a couple little dots here. Oh, one of the dogs is in trouble downstairs. I wonder what they're doing. I can hear my husband saying, no, no. All right, so that's what your flowers look like. And so that definitely looks like a gorgeous set of flowers that's awesome on any card. But then when you can die cut it, wow, it just adds that wow factor. So I'm going to bring in my mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss. And I'm sorry it's going to shake because this table's not the greatest for this. Okay, I'm going to feed it in like that. I'm going to bring these stamp set or dies out. I'm going to take this big one that's kind of detailed. And I'm going to pop the top on it. Make sure it didn't shimmy on me. With the mini, you really have to kind of press down and hold it in place. Pop it out. Look how gorgeous this is. So I love it in the Poppy Parade. I tried to do Gorgeous Grape last night, forgetting that the Gorgeous Grape didn't have blends, which makes me a little on the cranky side. Okay, so let's see here. Let's stamp the sentiment on the front. I'm changing this up a little bit. I am going to use the Happy Birthday sentiment from Hues of Happiness. Happiness Abounds. Okay. It's going to hang off a little bit. Yay, there we go. This is a photopolymer set, so it's nice because you can see exactly where you're going. Okay, so that's the second one. Now let's do the inside panel. with some Poppy Parade. And so the sentiment for the inside came from the same stamp set. Ooh, that's a lot of ink. All right, better get that out of the way before I get it all over my fingers. All right, let's see here. We need to, I do need my scoring tool out here again. So this is the piece that goes on the outside. And so this measures 5.5 by 4 1/8, it looks like. So I am going to score it 5.5 divided by 2 is 2 3/4. Hopefully that's right, since I didn't write those dimensions down. Looks pretty good. Get that back out of the way. And now let's do some assembly work. Okay, I'm gonna grab my bone folder, which I don't have. Here we go. All right, so you remember these dimensions that we scored before. I am going to flip it over and I am going to fold it back. So that's going to be your mountain. We are going to fold it again to create a valley. We are going to flip it back to fold another mountain. And here's the valley. Oh, I'm so happy it turned out right. Anytime I do these, it always makes me nervous. Okay, while we're doing the bone folder, I'm going to go ahead and fold that small piece there. And so now all we have to do is assembly work. So we want to make sure we get the position right on this. So I'm going to add a little bit of a liquid adhesive. And I know it looks like a lot, but it's such a thin line that I'm using. Okay, here we go. So there's the thin mat. And now let's look here. I think I want my polka dots on the outside. So we'll do the stripes there. And so this can be done with any DSP, but I like the perfectly penciled DSP because it makes that red really pop from all the flowers that you're using. And Poppy Parade just happens to be my favorite red. It's close to Sweet Sorbet, but I still think Poppy Parade is going to take it by a small margin. Okay, we're just leaving that small edge around. I'm so sorry that I'm not seeing your comments tonight, so I'll come back and catch all of them. Hopefully you guys are enjoying it. All right, so here is the polka dot for the inside, and then we'll do the polka dot for the outside. Okay, so there we go. All right, we're gonna let that kind of dry for just a second. So what I'm gonna do with this piece is I am going to kind of decide where I want it. I feel like that's a pretty good position. So what I did with this one last night was I took just a small piece of seal. And the reason that I'm using seal is I feel like it is just a little bit stronger. And I didn't do the whole amount down there because I want to be able to move it around. So I just put that seal right there on that very front. And I'm going to take my card and kind of hang it underneath where there's nothing, no adhesive or anything. And I'm just going to decide where I think it looks good. So I'm going to line it up there, making sure that it looks nice and even, and it does. So I'm just going to give it a nice press, and there we go. So now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to add the seal to the back of the Poppy Parade. So there we go. So there's your mechanism for your fun fold. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of liquid adhesive to the back of the inside sentiment, and I'm going to lay it down and fold it in and make sure that there's you can't see it at all. So I feel like it looks the best right there. And now I'm going to make sure that with that, and that's the reason that I'm using liquid on this one, because I definitely need that extra wiggle room. Okay, we're flying through this card. Even with all the coloring. I'm adding some liquid adhesive to this side. And you can see you just have a little bit of that Poppy Parade that's going to pop there. And then we're ready for the front panel. So obviously no card would be complete without a little dimension. So we are going to pop these flowers up with dimensionals. All right, get rid of the backs here. I'm going to leave that glue right there because I'm going to add some final things. So because this is a little bit bigger, it's going to hang off, but it's fine because it's still within the bounds of the card. So you don't have to worry about it not fitting in your envelope. Now here are my favorite little pieces, like I said. And what I'm probably going to do is I'm probably going to trim them down because they are a little bit too much for one. Let's see here. So grab a pair of snips here and get the most out of my. So let's grab a pair of tweezers. We'll add a little bit of liquid adhesive. I actually probably use more liquid adhesive on these little pieces that go underneath than I do the backs and stuff. Ooh, I got glue right there. I'll have to clean that up later. So there's that one. Let's add that right there. There we go. All right, I'm going to save these because I'll definitely use them for another card. Get my glue out of the way. I'm going to use my Take Your Pick tool, and I'm going to add a couple of these matte black dots here. So let's put one there. Let's put one here. Oop. And let's put one just right there. There we go. So there's your card. Beautiful, elegant card that you can give for any occasion. Okay, so because this is just a beautiful black and white card, I am going to use the smaller one to put on the outside of the envelope. Get that inked up really well. I'm not going to color it or anything. I think it's just stunning just by itself. And then we'll put, not exactly coordinating black and white paper on the outside, but it all kind of goes together in my opinion. So as I said, if I missed any comments or questions, I'll definitely answer them tonight before I go to bed. The dimensions as well as some more directions are going to be on my blog tomorrow morning, so check that out at tarabeth.blogspot.com. All right, we'll do a little trim on here. And I will be back next Sunday with another card tutorial, 7 o'clock. If there's anything that you're wanting to see, let me know. I'm always up for some suggestions. All right, so there's the envelope and today's card. Thanks so much for joining me. I appreciate it. Have an amazing week, and we'll see you next Sunday night. Thanks.